Good morning, all. Hope you are feeling hunky-dory and well. Wednesday morning skincare Q&A live. And what we're doing today is we're going to do, I hardly ever do this, but what to do in each decade of your life. And I'm going to start in the teens because I think this is something I'm asked so much. And I just feel that people don't always have a sense of, you know, what age am I and what should I do? And it's not as clear cut as that because people go down the path at different stages and things happen to us that can accelerate conditions on our skin. And some of us can have a tendency to acne and oily skin, and some of us can have a tendency to drier skin, and those will go on slightly different paths. But there are definitely things that I would pick up according to each decade. And I'm going to talk today about supplements I began to use, and I'm just going to actually slightly talk about my own journey because that's the best one to do and tell you what I have done and picked up in those decades. And obviously, because I'm 58, you know, a lot of things weren't around when I was younger, but there were a few things when I was younger. So I've fudged it and added some things in where they just didn't exist when I was in my 20s and 30s. And my God, I wished they had. The blouse, before you all keep asking, is Vampire's Wife, and I bought it in the sample sale. I got 3 of them for 50 quid each. The best deal I ever did. And I haven't properly worn it. I worn it once, so I just thought I'll wear it today for you because you always like a good top. New cleansers, if you're using them, that's lovely. Today is not about cleansing the new cleansers, but if you want to ask me questions at any stage, I'm fine to answer them. So, good morning, Elizabeth, Liz, good morning, you're loving the cleansers. I love hearing that, and never stop loving hearing that. Christine, hello, my darling. Angela, hello. Abdullah, Beta, Anna, Sue, good morning. Christina from Australia, lots of you Australians there. So, I think I'm just going to start, and then as we get everyone joining, because there's a big audience today, I'll go back and remind us what we're doing. So I'm going to start with girls in their teens and boys in their teens, because the thing is that you might have lots of kids going through congested, compromised skin, and you might be a teen watching. I think it's going to be quite rare that you're a teen watching me. I think girls in their 20s do and boys, but teens, not so many. So this is really for those mums out there who just feel they would love to be able to give advice if their kids want to take it, because that's the other big issue. And I have a huge issue with Lila around her picking. So if you have a child who's going through puberty, and this happens with boys and with girls, you just have a change in their skin. It's going to happen. And sometimes it can kind of activate what will turn into acne. And sometimes it's just the occasional hormonal spot, and their skin will settle down. And just a few days before their period, if they're a girl, you're going to have a little bit of spots, and you know, it just goes with that flow. But other kids can have consistent spots, and it can be really debilitating. And I had acne from the age of 13 when I hit puberty until the age of 30, so I know so well how much it affected my self-worth. And when I look at Lila, I feel that she's much better around it. She's like, please don't keep telling me I don't care as much as you care about my skin. And sometimes I think to myself, that's just teenage talk. But I do also feel that she's not so, you know, she probably does care a bit, but you know, the yellow marketing. Suzanne, I run a beauty business, darling, and this is my spare time treat for you, my angel. So, you know, that's life. If you don't love it, then don't watch. I give you a ton of information about so many things. So, you know, I also run a business. So with Lila, I just feel that it's basic stuff I tell her, and sometimes she's going to listen, sometimes she isn't. So, you know, if you have spots, don't pick them. Now, trying to tell a teenager not to pick their spots is like trying to stop, God knows, a cat going after some tuna. You know, it's just difficult, and it's so addictive, and you just want to get it out. So giving them the techniques by which to pick spots. Joe, I'm very well, thank you. Giving the techniques by which to pick spots is important, you know, and it's about, you know, get the pieces of tissue, or, you know, get cloths or tissue. And it's not about going, let me squeeze with my finger and make a mark because that will cause scarring. It's about, you know, getting 2 bits of tissue and just pressing down either side and releasing what's going to come out and not going crazy with pushing and pushing and pushing. I would always push, push to get the white stuff out and then push to get the blood out and then push to get the pus out. And, that sort of philosophy has maybe changed because you're really forcing the spot. So only gently let out what's going to be there. Yes, the shirt, Joe, thank you so much, is Vampire's Wife in the sale. So the first thing a teen needs to do is keep their skin clean. And there's lots of different brands out there. I don't think you should be anything too aggressive. But Cleanance from Avène, you can't go wrong. You can get it in Boots and it's purifying and mattifying. And it's just going to keep the oiliness a little bit under control and help with that sebaceous gland overacting. There's a very good supplement that I think is great to take. Thank you, Penny, which is called Clear Skin from Viridian, and it's available. You can get it anywhere. I get mine from Victoria Health. Lilacs takes it, and it contains zinc and burdock root, and the combination of zinc and burdock root I think is brilliant because it just sort of reduces inflammation and helps with bacterial. So that's another thing. You can always be in control of their pillowcases and their laundry. So check, have they got clean pillowcases? And I know it might seem a faff and more wash, but a clean pillowcase a night or every other night means that they're not just laying down bacterial infected spots on top of a cushion which is bacterial infected. Get them to clean their telephone. This is a really weird one, but the amount of, I'm trying to find an extra phone, but I haven't got one here now. But when you put your phone up, just give me your phone, Brandon. That's any phone, yeah. But like when you put your phone up, and we all know, thank you so much, they're doing that. Lila's like this, bam, 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 bam. I mean, she's more like that, but like this, bam, 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 bam. All that lovely bacteria right there, right, and then there, and then there. And so I was looking actually today on Amazon phone cleaners, those kind of things you put them in and it cleans all the bacteria off. And Lila actually sent one to me and I thought, that's great. That could be good. So that's kind of that teenagers. So it's about some supplements to help reducing the inflammation. It's about also things like Q&A, zinc, PCA. This is actually a nice facial serum. It's £9, but it contains zinc topically as well, which I think can work very well. So those are just a couple of choices. Now you're in your 20s. So if you're in your 20s, what are the most important things? Oh, and by the way, SPF, start them young, because that SPF, if you don't use it and you're in your teens, when you're perimenopausal, I'm going like this across because I got 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s here. When you're perimenopausal or menopausal, that is going to come out. And that's going to come out as pigmentation. And it's going to be blobbles of pigmentation and hard pigmentation to treat because it's not hormonally active. It's hormonal pigmentation, but it's also not activated by just like gentle sunspots. It's like deep trouble. And getting rid of that, there are methods by which you can get rid of. There are long-term methods by which you can treat pigmentation, but not everyone can afford them or want to do them. So I think it's important in your teens to understand what SPF is. Lila actually does do SPF 50 on her face, which I'm staggered by, but it's really great. She's kind of got that message, and I think quite a few kids that age, they want a tan, but she's like into her, she'll do tan drops, tan luxe drops. That's fine. So in your 20s, what can you start using, which are sort of active things? Now, I'm just going to answer some questions in between. We're on to 20s now, but I'll answer some teen questions. So I just saw one. My son is 11 and starting to have a lot of white pimples. It looks like goosebumps. He is not using cream or facial cleansing, probably what would be good for him. Little white bumps could be anything. I mean, it can be milia, which is hardened keratin. So when you produce a little bit of excess sebum in your spots, it sort of turns to keratin and then it hardens, and that's milia. And what you're describing, not seeing him, my dear, is like that. So even though he's only 11, I want to ask you, do you feel he's quite, on the verge of puberty? Because puberty nowadays, puberty for me and my friends was like 14. Puberty now can be 10, 11, 12. So you can start to get a lot of hormonal changes. And with hormonal changes, you can get excess sebum. And it could be that's what your son has got. If you ever consider taking him to a dermatologist, it would be good to do and check. It sounds like it could be, but I'm not in front of you with his skin. And, that's going to lead to blocked skin. So worth checking. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So yeah, all the products I'm talking about will be mentioned at the end, and I've got some fantastic things for when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s, and beyond. You know, when you fill in those forms and it says 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60 plus. It's like we die at 60. Fuck them. Sorry. Really pisses me off that. I'm really sorry for my language. All right. So in your 20s, what should you be introducing? I would say vitamin C. I started using vitamin C in my 20s, and I used Jan Marini. That was the first one, or Ellie Batchy. But I did, somehow somebody told me about vitamin C, and I used it. And Garden of Wisdom does a vitamin C. It's 20%, 23% with ferulic acid, which actually helps to sort of stabilize the vitamin C. It's a nice vitamin C, not too irritating on the skin, and it's a decent price. It is £10. So like when you're in your 20s and you're on a budget, that's quite good. Now, if you have got some skin issues, having some kind of exfoliating toner is great. But in the 20s at the moment, teens and 20s, there's a lot of over exfoliation going on in liquid exfoliants. And I think one has to be careful not to oversensitize the skin so that you can't just put anything on it. And that's what's been happening a bit. There's these TikTok trends. There's, you know, people using acids in the wrong way, and they're just getting this very sensitized skin. So I would say an acid is good. It will really help to regulate your oil levels, especially if it has some BHAs in it. And if you get a combination or something in your 20s, something that's sort of working but not stripping, that's the key. So AHAs, BHAs are good. PHAs are gentler. So you just need to think about which ones have them, like Pixie Tonic, that has a combination. So there's a mixture that you can look at. So those are two really important things. And I would also say the SPF. I love Heliocare because it's oil-free, and it actually, for friends of mine who have spots, there's a foam and there's this one. It just doesn't give you any spots, and it's SPF 50, broad spectrum. And also the Viridian Clear Skin, I would be taking that in my 20s. So that's 20s. Those are things that I think you'd introduce to your routine. I wouldn't in your 20s, sorry, I keep moving something over this is in my way of my very big sleeves. I wouldn't in your 20s use retinol unless you have bad skin. And then there are sites like there's Dermatica and Skin and Me, and they do a prescription vitamin A derivatives. They do some types of retinol, and you could do that. And a prescription of azelaic acid if you have bad scars from spots, you know, bad dark spots, bad dark marks from spots. And I would say if you don't have spots, I don't see the need really to introduce a retinol that young. I just feel you're over-emphasizing your skin, unless it's a retinol combined with things that actually are going to help to clear up your skin. You know, it's a sort of complex that's looking at that. Sam Farmer's, yes, Sam Farmer's is really great for teenage skin, and it was developed for teenage skin in mind, so I would say that. Yes.
Did you start Botox in your 20s?
I started Botox at 35. I would, you know, there's a lot of trends for Botox, starting Botox early. And I think that, you know, there's all these kind of baby Botox and things like that. But in my 20s, I was actually dealing with spots. So that's all I could obsess about. And I just did everything to get rid of my spots. And it was not till my mid-30s that I considered Botox. And it was a very early time because Botox wasn't really happening because I'm 58, so this is like in the 1990s, so really, really early. There weren't many people doing it in the UK. There was actually one French doctor called Dr. Seabag, the very sort of funny Frenchman who we've done some films with actually about Botox, so we'll show you those at some stage. They'll be coming out about how it works. So you're in your 20s, I'd say those are the main issues. Any other issues you think would be good to cover? Anything else that you would like to know? Yes, Chris, 73, and I know what you mean about 60 plus. Isn't it frustrating? I get clusters on spots on my chin and they just won't go away. I cleanse my skin and I keep it clean, but it's getting frustrating. I think it looks a bit like dermatitis. Jodie, I'm not in front of you and I'm not a dermatologist. So clusters could be your subjective interpretation of a little, you know, acne spots, or it could be more of a rash, or it could be dermatitis. So go and see a dermatologist. Go and get it diagnosed properly. There's some very good dermatologists around. I think if you live in the UK, Jess, we have a few dermatologists that we like and we talk to on live. So go and see those because we do have some films coming out and they're really good on skin. Who's the one that we talked to recently? Dr. Justine Hextall was fabulous on skin. And so, you know, I don't know where you live. She's in the South England, but, you know, just find a good dermatologist and get it diagnosed. And it's going to cost you, you know, 100 quid for that appointment, but you'll know what it is and then you'll know how to treat it, you know, instead of guessing. Guessing is not a good idea in skin. Yes, milia. It's a build-up of dead skin cells. Milia is not quite a build-up of dead skin cells. Milia is more that you've got a pore and it's got sebaceous, you know, oils, and it blocks and turns into keratin, hardened keratin, and that's what the milia is. Dead skin cells are sitting on your skin anyway, so you can have lots of build-up of dead skin cells and it can present as dry skin, not necessarily as milia. Two slightly different things. Foxy, just wondered if you've ever used Elizabeth Arden's Prevage range. What did you think of it? Foxy, I did try it, and there was a serum I tried a few years ago, and it was a kind of all-in-one serum, and it was silver with a yellow somewhere. I liked it, but I always seek, I kind of love brands that show me the ingredients they're using very clearly, and I can see the kind of formulation, and I felt I didn't get that from that product. That's why. I mean, I know they're very well formulated. It's a brilliant company, Elizabeth Arden, but it just wasn't for me. So let's go on now to your, okay, vitamin C, when do you use it? So let's just do a quick when use things in your routine as I'm talking about things. So you clean your skin. If your skin tends to be oily, clean it with a gel cleanser in the morning. We have a lovely one at the back. I'm going to say that now. Better Off, AHA, BHA gel cleanser. Really great, 20s plus. I mean, Lila uses it in her teens. So it depends on your skin. And then I would do a vitamin C. You might, if you're a morning girl and you like an acid, do a PHA in the morning. But AHAs and BHAs are quite strong to do twice a day. This is where I talk about that over exfoliation. I prefer them for the evening. So then after that, I do a vitamin C. And you might have hyaluronic acid. And depending on which one is heavier and which one contains a bit of oil or not, depends on the order of them. It's not necessarily that you would do hyaluronic acid and then vitamin C. But hyaluronic acid generally is a water-based product, so it would go on first, and vitamin C generally would be perhaps oil-based and would go on afterwards. And then you put on a moisturizer and an SPF. That's your morning. That's generally the products. You might take out the vitamin C and put an antioxidant, general antioxidant, or you might sort of have a peptide serum or something else. But that's kind of thing. Hyaluronic acid on its own, vitamin C on its own, both together, one off the other. In the evening, you clean your skin, take off all your makeup, and Be Your Best is a fabulous cleansing balm. There we are. We launched that last week. Beautiful cleansing balm. You can read the reviews and make up your own mind. After that, I'd use a gel. I mean, I think that's a great routine for everyone to double cleanse their skin and start with something that's going to get all the makeup off and then end with something that's going to really clean out the pores. If you've got very dry skin, you could do a balm twice, but otherwise, a balm and a gel. After that, you could do an acid, and it could be an AHA, PHA, BHA. Sorry, I'm not thinking this morning. So it could be a combination of them. You might have a company where there's just one, which is a mixture of the three. Use that. And if you're starting to use acids, build them up slowly. Never start and go in the deep end. You know, so you could do it every other day and that's all you do, and then a little bit of a peptide or something. I don't like heavy creams at night. And if you're in a regular routine, you know, once you're in a regular routine, you could be doing your acid, giving a few seconds, doing a little spritz, and then do your retinol. And so that's kind of the routine. Then after your retinol, it's up to you. I like to do a peptide because I don't like anything really heavy on my skin at night because I want my skin to sort of be breathing, and it doesn't need a barrier cream to protect it from my bedroom. So that's my preferred routine. Susan, I had acne rosacea most of my adult life. Rosex gel cleared it up, but I always get a massive red spot on my nose before special occasions. Maybe it's karma. Susan, how irritating. Poor you. That's so irritating. Sounds like it could be stress. I mean, a lot of skin issues to me are not just your hormones. They're hormones, they're stress, their diet, their lack of sleep. They can be everything. And they just, it's that little sign that your skin is a bit out of kilter. So we've done teens, we've done 20s. We're now going to do, you're in your 30s. Now, you're in your 30s and you know, you've been in your teens and 20s producing that collagen. You've been making your skin bouncy. It's been working magnificently. But in your 30s, that early, things begin to deplete. And when they deplete, the main things that are depleting are the hyaluronic acid, the elastane and the collagen. You're sort of losing them a bit. So you need to kind of think of things to do that can manage stress, support your cortisol levels, not have your cortisol levels go up and down, because that, you know, stress really takes, to me, highly stressed skin takes volume away quicker. I don't know how I can put that more clearly, and there's no scientific evidence, but there sort of is, because when you're very stressed, you release cortisol, it sits on your epidermis, it's very dehydrating, drying out dehydrated skin, loses texture and bounce, so that kind of hand in hand. And I think you need to really be questioning, you should question this all the time, but in your 30s, how much water are you drinking? You know, and is your skin dry or dehydrated? We did it last week in the live. Claire and I talking about the difference between dehydrated or dry skin, but I'll just repeat it today in case somebody wasn't on last week. If you want to check if you're dry or dehydrated, try drinking definitely 2 litres of water a day for 5 days and stop coffee. And then at the end of that, see, is my skin feeling less dry? In your minds, dry. If it is, your skin issue is probably dehydration. If you still feel exactly the same, then your skin is dry and you need to give it nice things to give it hydration, or you're not sloshing off the dead skin cells. It's going to be one of those two things. So you need to kind of go down the path of each to discover that. But that gives you an idea. So in your 30s, I think it's time you can start to pick up the retinol. You might have picked it up in your 20s if you've got spots, but if you haven't, really not. And then your retinol is your baby. Our Sunday Riley A+ dosage one, I love. It's a really great product. This is high dose retinoic acid, which is a really good effect of retinol, but less irritation and downtime. So I love that. And are you doing a nice hyaluronic beauty pie? I have a lovely triple hyaluronic, which is £16, and it contains 4 different hyaluronics. And when I put it on, it doesn't feel too sticky and yucky, and it goes in, and I feel my skin is hydrated. So it's lovely hyaluronic. And I think that in terms of, you know, what you're using, you know, are you taking vitamin D? Are you in the sun enough? We're never in the sun enough unless we live in Australia. You know, other things that you might have. Hang on, is there anything here that I think they're not in an order here? Let me just see if I've got anything here that I want to give you. Astaxanthin. This is so good. This is good on 2 levels. It's a great antioxidant, but if you're naughty and you go in the sun, it sort of weirdly helps your skin if it's in the sun, because it is, you know, doing that antioxidant job. It's sort of, you know, the free radicals are running around, and it's kind of trying to actually not make them so penetrating. That's the only way I can put it. It's not going to be an SPF. It's definitely not an SPF, but the free radical element of the sun, that damage you get from that, astaxanthin slightly helps. It's just a really lovely, it's a really lovely supplement. Vitamin C is so important. You know, are you taking vitamin C? Something in your 20s you could consider taking, but you know, you're probably actually eating shit in your 20s. But you know, in your 30s, it's about being responsible around supplements. So are you taking lots of vitamin C? What else is here? Would you start taking collagen supplements? You could. I mean, I'd say in your 40s is when you should be looking at the hyaluronic acid and collagen supplements. In your 30s, I still feel the skin is okay. Maybe late 30s, you could start taking that. And anything else I want to give you here? No. Okay, so now we're going into the 40s. Any questions whilst we're here in the 30s, by the way?
I've got one here. It says, how do you know when it's time to up the ante with your retinol?
I would say that if you're on a gentle retinol and you started in your 30s and you're feeling, you know, it's nice, but are you noticing any changes? And you know that, in fact, it's a kind of gentle retinol. And you can look at, Claire and I, our Chief Innovation Officer at Trinny London, and really supreme understander of skincare ingredients. We did a retinol film, and she's so good at explaining, because you have vitamin A and you have retinol, but retinal is good. Retinol palmitate, retinoids, you know, they're all different. And when you look at the back of pack of the retinol you're using, check what kind of retinol it is. And if you see it's a retinol that's slightly soft, then you could consider, I could up the ante. And once you can up the ante, get more serious, companies like Medicate, SkinCeuticals, Sunday Riley's, nice retinol, less irritating, but it's good retinol. Drunk Elephant has a very strong retinol, but there's going to be, you know, I think it's something that if you have sensitive skin, it's quite, you know, it's quite strong in a way with no sort of protection of lovely supporting ingredients. It's just there. So it depends on your skin type as well as to how much you control the upping the ante. That's what I'd suggest. Now, in your 30s, you could consider some tools. You could consider things like microneedling. And microneedling is something that I feel once your skin is saying, oh, I'm just a bit tired, do I have to make more collagen? You know, they're just getting a bit lazy. That's the time that you want to actually say, hey, skin, I'm going to microneedle you, and I'm going to start at 0.2 needle. Swiss Clinic, there's a lovely new brand, Teresa Tame, there's not Olivia Wilde, I can't remember her last name, but we'll put it down. But there's a few really good companies, and go for a good company with a microneedle. Don't go for an Amazon cheap needle that hasn't been sterilized potentially properly. And when you do it, it's short feathering motions. Now, when you start off, what you're just doing is gently damaging the skin. You're not going to draw blood, all right? This is not how you microneedle at home. Just gentle stimulation of the skin. Once you go down it and you've done it a bit, you could then, you know, maybe microneedle and then put a sort of peptide on because it's soft and it's not inert, but a peptide's not aggressive on the skin. But you've created little micro channels for things to go down further. I do it with sort of PHAs as well, just so they can travel down further. But you've got to do the journey gently. And if you're starting to microneedle in your 30s, and I think 30s, 40s is the right time, then do consider also you do it, you know, twice a week. You could start once a week, a Sunday morning facial, build up to twice a week, but don't go crazy. Like all of this stuff, don't go mad. Gently does it. Now we're in our 40s. How many of you, I think there's a lot of you on here who are in the 40s. My camera's just gone dark, which is a little bit irritating, so I will just, okay, I'll answer a few questions. So Laurakin, I wondered if you've ever used the Origins products for skincare. I really love them. I have used Origins years ago. To me, the ingredients are lovely and the smells are delicious and they're a very nice introduction to skincare. To me then, when you want to up the ante, and we talked like just now about upping the ante on a retinol and things, probably I would go for other brands than the Origins. But as that introduction and that lovely all over feeling, they're very nice. When will the serums and moisturizers come out? Oh, Shat, you're ahead of the game, aren't you? Kathleen, I had acne when I was younger. Now in my mid-30s, I get hormonal when ovulating and PMS. Cystic looking, painful, pimple type things, but the rest of the month is clear. What can I do? I have a very good skincare regime with actives included, but not sure what to do here. Very tough, that. And I think many women identify with that sort of 8 months, 8 days before their period, they start to get this skin, which is the memory of when they had bad spots. So I think, are you doing supplements? I would actually consider, would you take, the clear skin for sort of 8 days before, 10 days before? You could also consider, have you got a good retinol that you are taking that is a retinol with an ingredients that lean towards compromised skin? Do you do BHAs around your skin? Do you focus on them, especially in that part-time? And just getting the balance, keeps happening, just getting the balance right in your skin. It could be that you're doing the categories of skincare, but how effective? We can always say, we're doing a retinol, we're doing an acid, we're doing a vitamin C, but start to look at the details of those products. See how they're working, see what the ingredients are on the back. And it might be you're in the category, but you could go a little bit, you could up a little bit the strength.
I've got a
yes.
question here, a really good one.
Yeah.
Someone said, how do you maintain your confidence going down the path of life?
Oh, I think many things can take away our confidence. I could do a whole one next week if you want on confidence and confidence boosting things. I think that would be a nice one to do. For me, it's so many different things. I might write them down, but I'm going to throw some out at you. Surround yourself with people who care about you and don't put you down, and cut out of your life people who make you feel bad. That is like number one. So difficult to cut ties with people who bring you down, but so key. It's important to be a friend to people who are having a hard time, but I think it's really important that you don't allow other people to make you feel low, all right? Key. Look at how you present yourself and look at what you're doing and look at, are you taking care of yourself? Do you love yourself enough that you're taking care of yourself? Are you really, getting a nice product on your skin, giving yourself a nice little massage, taking some healthy supplements, wearing some colour, these simple things, making yourself present in your life. Sometimes we feel really low and lacking confidence and that in itself precipitates us making ourselves feel invisible. How can you make yourself feel visible and present? So I think, look at your mood as well. Look at, would you want to take some mood boosting things, some energy boosting things to just feel physically better? I love, got it right here because this is something I'm going to say now going into the 40s, to look at supplements that can help our mood. When you go into a perimenopausal state, a lot of stuff is happening with your skin. And I hope that helped a bit. Will you make a note of it, Faith? Because I think I'll go into this next week. It's a really good subject. In your 40s, your skin just is not bouncing back. You might have great genes, you might have incredible bone structure, so it might be holding on to its shelf, but the actual texture of your skin is there. So in my 30s, I started Botox. Now, if you're going to go down a path where you want to do things that are supplemental to skincare and supplements, then you've got things like treatments, Botox, fillers, threading, lasers, IPLs, all those kind of treatments. And we have a lot of blogs that Jess behind the scenes has written on these, and it would just give you a sense of feeling informed so you can make your own choice on what you wish to do. But I think you also need to look at what you feel comfortable doing. So for me, in my 30s, in my very early 30s, I did a CO2 laser because I had very bad acne scars, really downtime of a month. At 35, I started Botox. In my 40s, I started rejuvenating treatments on my skin. So I had something for pigmentation. I did IPL, for the little sunspots on my hands and couple on my body. I started doing those in my 40s. I started doing fractional radio frequency in my 40s. So those sort of deeper than skincare can go rejuvenation treatments. And I think it's a combination. When you're in your 40s, you're sort of going down the path of life. You might emotionally be in a great place or not, but as you hit mid-40s, you could become perimenopausal. And a lot of people say that the menopause is driven by what age your mother was when she went into the menopause. And I think there's some truth in it. But I did go in earlier. My mother went into menopause at 55. And all I remember, my sister and I remember, is she was just in a bad mood. It's awful, isn't it? But we remember our mother in a bad mood for about 5 years. And it was, that there was absolutely no acknowledgement of it. And now there is, and lots of people talk about it. I've talked about it since I went into it 15 years ago. And I do think that the more informed you are and the more confidence you will get for going through it. And it's something which affects some women far more than others. Some women have tremendous amount of hot flushes and feel that like they're in a meeting and suddenly everything goes wet and it's physically embarrassing for them and they don't know what to do. And people don't know how to react. And other people, it's more their mood goes really far down and they just feel, I don't know how to pick myself up off the floor. So I would suggest if you feel you're a bit out of kilter and you can't put it down to anything and you're in your mid-40s, go and have your hormone levels checked. Just do it. Just see where's the estrogen, where's the progesterone, and where's the testosterone. Because, menopause is about the reduction in those hormones that support your body function and the way that your body has been used to functioning. And as those deplete, it will affect you. You will be more open to inflammation. You could be more open to pigmentation. All these things are going to happen. And also you lose more collagen, you lose more elastin, you lose more hyaluronic acid. So it's like, how much in your late 40s and 50s are you prepared to do that you want to just feel good? And everyone's definition of good is very subjective. So I'm going to give you what I've done and what I do, and you've got to decide what you want to do for yourself. And I feel that for me, it's not about, I don't want to put back the path of time. I want to look in the mirror and feel full of energy and feel able to do anything. And that's what drives me to have a good skincare routine, a good supplements routine, a good health routine of what I put inside my body, and a good mental attitude. And those things combined if you can kind of tick a box on each of them, you're going to go into your 40s and 50s with joy and pleasure and not with fear and dread. All right, so that's kind of, I want to just say that message to you quite strongly. So let's start with the top layer. What supplements, what products should you be using? Well, you should be upping your ante on a retinol. So if you've been using, let's say, Medicate, they do, you know, a crystal range, here it is. And you can do 4, 6, 8, 12, 20, you build it up. So I love that as a range because it introduces you to it. Peptides are a great thing to introduce. Paula's Choice do a number of different peptides here. We'll list these all below. And peptides are just sort of, they're like the chains in a bracelet that bring everything together. You know, they are the basis of a lot of your skin structure. They help to sort of feed skin structure. That's the most simplistic form I can give it to you at. But for everything else to function well, peptides are right at the baseline of it all. You need to really think, am I using a very good vitamin C? So look at the levels of vitamin C. You know, your skin might become more sensitive in your 40s and 50s. And if it is, then you've got to change what kind of vitamin C you use. But if your skin's fine and you're seeing pigmentation, you could consider whether you start a little IPL on some of those spots and to reduce them. You could consider that you want to, you know, when you're in your mid-40s and you're perimenopausal, all the sun damage from your teens and 20s, if you didn't wear SPF then, is going to start to appear in your 50s, late 40s, 50s and 60s. So you'll suddenly feel that your skin might not feel as even toned unless you are really good. Sorry, I'm looking down there because that's when I've got my 20 stuff. Unless you are really good at protecting your skin. So you need to think, what can I do to help with that? I believe upping the ante on vitamin C is key. I take 3,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C, and I like liposomal, which means it's a liquid one. You have Mizuki, which it was questionable whether it's liposomal, but I'm comfortable it's a good vitamin C, and Ultrient, which is another one, which is very good, doesn't taste so good. I don't even put it in water, I just take it whole, and I quickly drink some water afterwards. But I do believe vitamin C is the most phenomenal antioxidant. I'm reading again Linus Pauling's How to Live a Long and Healthy Life. It's a book he wrote in the 70s. He was the sort of king of vitamin C and really did a tremendous amount of research on it as a true defender for our body against illness. And so I'm halfway through it again because I'd read it years ago. But I just feel that it's such a crucial one. And I don't believe that if you have oranges and food that you're going to get enough. Because the RRD, the recommended daily doses of vitamins, were put in place in the 60s, I think. And those recommended daily doses were when our food was not traveling so far and, you know, we got more out of the food we ate. So it's really changed when we get the orange from Seville. How long has it been nearly in a freezing tank before it got to us and went on the shelf of the supermarket and then got into our hand and then we drank it. You know, it's like it's probably 30% of the vitamin C that was on that tree, and then you've got to digest it and you're going to pee it out. So that's what happens. That's why I strongly believe in supplements, but I believe in the right ones. I can't state it enough. I really believe in them. Another thing you should be taking now is a good collagen supplement, because, you know, that collagen on our skin, that sort of support structure of our skin has really depleted a bit. And there's different types of collagen. It became such a trend, collagen, and everyone got on the bandwagon. There are sort of powdered collagens which, you know, have a good delivery system because they're going to go in your stomach and then penetrate hopefully through the bottom of the intestine into the bloodstream somehow. Pill forms, the original collagen pills, I think don't really get anywhere near the skin. They might help with joint mobility because collagen's really good for joint mobility, but they're not going to get further in. And so there are some innovative new collagens about Absolute Collagen is in the yellow sachet, and that's a lovely liposomal collagen. I use now Ingenious Collagen, which I've been using religiously now for 2 months, and I love it. I really feel that the skin on my body has got a bit plumpier. So 40s, you know, collagen, I'd start, yes. Microneedling, definitely you can be doing. Dermabrasion, you could be doing to increase collagen. It's quite an old-fashioned treatment. I don't know if I would be doing that. You know, filler, some people do filler, and I think filler can be done today very carefully. You can do treatments like Profilo, which is going to plump up your skin gently. It's going to basically inject hyaluronic acid, which you've sort of been losing in the last few years, and just inject that in your face. And you have it once, don't notice much of a difference, and you have it again. They do sort of 2 injections here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and maybe on the neck. And then it probably lasts, I think, about 6 months. It doesn't last that long. And you have one series of injections, and a month later you have another series of injections. So some people love it. I tried it because I try everything for this show. And I thought it was great. And I think I did feel my skin was plumper, but it wasn't permanent. You can have filler, you know, and filler can be put in really well or really badly. I think we've all seen some kind of issues around filler. You can have filler put in around your cheeks. You know, some people do filler on the tear troughs. Be very careful if you get somebody to do filler on your tear troughs. I had it done about 8 years ago with Dr. Seabag because I had very dark circles. And then the filler, you know, it can sometimes escape and it just then can be a bit puffy. So I then had most of it removed about 2 or 3 years ago. But there are treatments, you know, there's now threading. So threading works that you get these sort of cosmetic threads and they should be biodegradable. You don't permanent anything inside your face if you do it. And, you know, they sort of put a thread in and then they make it tight and then they cut it. Seabag does threading. I did some threads here a couple of years ago. And I think threading is an interesting thing just to kind of give you a bit of that moment of a jaw. So there's a point in which skincare, so I see the role of skincare being that the texture of your skin, you know, that plumpness of your skin, that feeling of the life in your skin is from skincare. The structure of your face is from treatments and fillers and threading. And so you just, and then the kind of internal supplements we take just, to me, make my skin feel generally a little bit better. So it's a bit of both. Ultrasound is another one, the Ultralift, the Morpheus 8. These are treatments that are ultrasound treatments and they go deep to the muscle and they kind of aggravate the muscle. So they're working on the muscle. So different treatments you get in Tweakman land are filling your face. They are ultrasound type treatments that go in and affect the muscle. You can have lasers that also affect the muscle. And you can have things like fraxel or fractional radio frequency, two very different things, but they are dealing with the texture of the skin. Okay, there's lots of different treatments out there, so it's not a show about treatments, just giving you an idea of those things you can consider beyond skincare. Now we're in our 50s, yes?
Sorry, it's 10.
Okay, very quickly, we're in our 50s, and in our 50s, we need to introduce peptides if we haven't. We need to be nurturing our skin. I hope you've been doing those facial massages actually since your 20s, because I think they hold us well in our skin. And your life experience shows. And, you know, if you've had a happy, jolly life so far, you're going to have lovely laughter lines, which, you know, I don't do eye creams per se. I always do the products all the way up. But, you know, you should have retinols, you should have SPF, antioxidants in your skin. Ceramide creams are lovely because they're just giving you that kind of cozy comfort creams that you might want as well. But also you might have got all the way to your 50s and never done acids. And it's like, it's never too late to start sloshing off the dead skin cells. So I would say to those women, are you doing things like that? Or have you escaped through skincare land and you literally clean your face and do a vitamin C and a moisturizer? Could be you need to wake up in your 50s because 50s is the new 40s for sure. So I consider that and really, save up those good ingredient stuff. Don't waste money on things that feel that was a tenner, it's fine. I'd rather save up money and then use it sparingly and have a consistent routine. You might be doing, sorry, this is 40s as well, but like you could do daily tools like Face Gym Pro and New Face, and they are things you can start. I'd start in your 40s on those. And they're both as good as each other. It just depends on your price point. In your 60s, you're postmenopausal. You've lost about 30%, I should say, of your collagen during menopause. Bugger. You've got less estrogen, so it's a little bit harder to sleep. You might be on HRT. So if you're on HRT, you're probably going to feel fine. I'm on HRT and I feel great. I have estrogen and testosterone in the morning, and I do a progesterone pill at night. And I feel dandy. And I also take a lot of adrenal support. I take also prebiotics I haven't included. They should be there from your teens. Okay, because definitely when you've got compromised skin, you need to look after your gut health. So prebiotics all the way through. Sorry, lots of things I'm forgetting. All the supplements I've mentioned. There are little things I'll consider. This is one I've taken for 10 years, Magnolia rhodiola. It just helps with your mood, helps support your mood. It's fantastic. For sleeping, there is cherry night powder, which is lovely. It's just, imagine what cherries do. I take a punch of cherries and I literally fall asleep straight away. You build up to this and it works really well. If you're not on HRT and you want an organic, not organic, but a more natural route, sage complex helps with night sweats, and it helps just reduce those levels of the flushing. Magnesium you should be doing in your 50s as well, and 60s and 70s until you go in your coffin. And magnesium is fantastic to just help our body, and I usually take it at night. Skin restoring ceramides, I love. This has such a good complex in it, and ceramides are things we lose in our 50s. We probably start losing them in our 40s. And these babies, in fact, I want to take two now because I haven't taken them for a while. Vitamin A, you can take as a supplement, as well as taking retinol on your face. Vitamin A, are you taking it? Vitamin A, D, and K, really key, ADK. And that's there. Ceramide creams, now you're in your 60s, ceramide creams are lovely. Dr. Jart has a very nice ceramide cream. I would say the omega complexes from Paula's Choice are really good too. You can still do all those other skincare treatments. And, you know, mentally, what are you doing? That's the thing. Mentally in your 60s, are you walking? Are you doing strength training? You know, are you keeping your body strong? From your, you know, if you've never done exercise, active exercise, I'm just going to end with this. For me, I did 20s and 30s and 40s, I did Pilates and never lifted a weight in my life until I hit 50. And at 50, I was told by somebody, the most important thing you can do is strength training for menopause, because you need to keep muscle tone. You lose that muscle tone, it's so much harder to get back. You keep that muscle tone and you can go anywhere, you can do anything. So I feel fitter now than I did 5 years ago. And that's because I know I have to do it every other day. I can't give it a rest. And it's instead of like, it, you know, it's all about that mental focus. So instead of it, oh my God, I got to wake up and exercise day, it's like, hey, I'm getting up because it's another moment to give my body the chance of a full, fabulous life. That's how I look at it. Some days it's shitty weather and I don't want to get up, but I roll out of bed and I do it. That's it. I haven't answered that many questions, but I wanted this just to be a kind of race through. And 70s, sorry, there I am talking at the beginning about life stops at 60. In your 70s, depending on how you've looked after your skin, and you might be joining us on this live, you know, at this time and thinking, where do I start? It's never too late to start, ever. And, you know, you can start with support for your skin. You can start with a few little, you know, is it too late to do that? I don't think so. You can still say, hey, muscle, you're in there somewhere. Lift up a little bit. You know, you can still do a little AHA gently. You can do ceramides to fill in afterwards. You know, just facial massage, slapping your face, getting the oxygen flow. All these things, don't stop doing. You know, a lot of people think, well, you know, when doctors, you know, say to patients, well, maybe you just can stop taking your HRT now. Why would we? Why would we? Why do I want to tell my body to shut down and die? Because if it doesn't have hormones in it, it's sort of feeling its purpose, which it thought originally was just to reproduce, is then going downhill. Because you notice after we go past the age of reproduction, our body just tends to go, I don't want to listen to that body doing that. So I want to be like I want to be Iris Apfel at 100. Frankly, who doesn't? I think she's magnificent. And so when I look at, you know, how my mother progressed down the path of life, and my mother had Alzheimer's and she didn't do that much exercise, and it makes me feel, love my mother's bits, that I will definitely do those things differently. You know, because I know what happens. I know that incapacitation is what I don't want to get towards. And, you know, I don't know what will happen. I don't know if I would have Alzheimer's as well. I don't know how much of it's hereditary, but I know that I want to stimulate my brain and do things every day that stimulate my brain and make me remember stuff, and exercise, which stimulates everything, and put supplements in my body and put on skincare products and wear clothes that give me joy. And have happy people around me who stimulate me, and make some younger friends, because that's so important. You know, when you're hitting your 50s, 60s, 70s, think, how old are my friends? I want some people 10 or 20 years younger who can then entertain me when I'm 80. Anyway, signing off now. Hi guys, you're my friends later. Okay, all right, I hope you have a good day. Bye.